You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello and welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. We've got a squeaky chair and another episode for you today. We're going to talk about the Premier League's announcement where they postponed the football till the end of April now rather than the beginning of April. I'm joined by a new guest, not to the podcast, but a new guest in our new setup, James Rushton. How are you, my friend?
A new guest in my own home. Is that how we're framing it? I'm fine, man. About as fun as you can be, I guess, in these weird circumstances. It's a bit odd.
I've just noticed I've got some hand gel on my desk. I didn't put it there purposely for the video, but now it's there. I am going to use it. So are you washing your hands, James? Are you keeping yourself safe?
Yeah, I was doing that anyway. I don't know why. Is that a new thing?
It's a good point, isn't it, to be fair?
I had hand sanitizer before this. Like, what?
Like we've all suddenly discovered that people actually didn't wash their hands before.
Yeah, it's well, at Wembley, those Wembley toilets, man. People, it weren't happening there, mate.
That's disgusting. The amount of people I shook hands with as well. Oh, that's a horrible thought. Okay, let's move on. Talk to me about the Premier League. We all knew that April 3rd, I think the initial date was never going to happen. That was kind of just bought us all a bit of time. And now they're saying April 30th. Do we think that is a date that we'll see football back?
Nah. To be completely honest, it's really optimistic. I mean, April 4th is really optimistic, but there's not much else.
Yeah.
There's not much else the Premier League can do except offer more and more suspensions. But the way things are going in other countries, I really don't see the Premier League coming back in its normal format on April 30th, or even after that. It's a really tough one. There's been so many solutions bandied around, and I guess all the Premier League can do, all officials can do, is delay and offer support to clubs affected. Because I think what we're quickly realising isn't the vacuum of space that kind of football leaves behind. It's more so the livelihoods and stuff. Like, how are these? Villa will be fine. I'm sure Villa will be fine as a rich funded club, but there's a lot of high profile clubs that probably were relying on a lot of competition going ahead to support their infrastructure, and that's going to be a worry.
So why do you think that? I mean, I've not read any of the statements or anything today. I've seen the main bullet points and stuff on Sky. Why do you think that they're delaying it in this manner of going right first of April and now the end of April? Why can't they just say, right, we're just going to push it way back to September or something? Is it just because they're trying to remain optimistic? Is it because no one really knows what's going on? Or
I think the way you look at it, if you were to say no football, no sport until May 23rd, and a situation occurs where then you can resume competition before that, it's a bit tough, because you've made clubs then plan a contingency until a certain date. If football returns before that, then there's a bit of an issue, isn't there? And I think the only thing they can do is offer these kind of weekly delays. Because I think preparing for it to come back and it not coming back at all is better than not preparing for it to come back and being kind of at a loss when it does come back. But there's so many questions that kind of hang around outside this now, as footballing contracts, because when you think of the delay, and you think, obviously, the wealthy players, you also have to think of the players throughout the football pyramid who are going to be affected by this, and their livelihoods that will be affected by moving clubs, because some will want to play first-team football and have lives that rely on appearance money. That doesn't happen without transfers to new clubs. So it's such a sticky, difficult situation.
While you've been talking, I've not just browsing Twitter. I'm looking for the statement from the Premier League. So they've said the FA's rules and regulations state that the season shall terminate not later than the 1st of June. And each competition shall, within the limit laid down by the FA, determine the length of its own playing season. However, the FA's board has agreed for this limit to be extended indefinitely for the 1920 season in relation to professional football. Additionally, we've collectively agreed that the professional game in England will be further postponed until no earlier than 30th of April. The progress of COVID-19 remains unclear, and we can reassure everyone the health and welfare of players, staff and supporters are our priority. So we've kind of now got rid of that whole uncertainty over, is the league going to be void and null, and we start again fresh from zero. We now know that the Premier League, as we've got to so far, 28 or 29 games in, we are going to finish that season now, which to me that's a positive at least, because I think for the integrity of football, you can't just be scrapping seasons midway through regardless of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I think the way the weird situation, the way it kind of pans out is you can't really just cancel a season and begin anew. I don't think.
Nah,
Certainly,
I said this yesterday. If you're
Yeah.
ready to begin a new season, surely you're in a position to finish the old one first.
yeah. I mean, this football season. It's the way we've set it up is it goes over 2 years. You know, it goes over that winter period into a new year. I think the way you have to look at it is that is just the 175th edition of the top tier, and that carries on until it finishes, until that 38 game span finishes. That's the way it has to be done, because there's so much that depends on this, and it's not just Villa. I mean, most of the kind of solutions that have come out have been self-serving, especially West Ham kind of saying null and void straight away, and then Leeds saying we have to continue, because that situation to each club only benefits that club, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It has to finish, because no team has mathematically achieved anything at all. So to make a decision based on now where teams stand, it'd be downright criminal, wouldn't it? I mean, Liverpool are running away with the title, but things happen. Leeds were going to get promoted last season, weren't they? No offense to them at all, but they were going to get promoted. Everyone knew that. And they didn't. So football changes. It changes rapidly and quickly. And I'm pretty sure Liverpool will be lifting a title, but you can't make that decision based right now, especially with Villa having a game in hand. The season has to be played, and people are putting too much weight on the year that the season started and should have ended. It's just another edition of the league. It needs to finish with 38 games, whenever those 38 games take place, and that's another kettle of fish, isn't it? A whole different, there's a lot going on there.
The season will be finished or prolonged indefinitely, or whatever the wording was. What's the limit of that? If we're still playing this Premier League season in a year's time, is that silly? Like, do we still need to finish it? Is there a cut-off point where we say, okay, right, we need to scrap this now? We've played 3 games in the last few months, or whatever. Like, is there a way that this? I don't know if I'm making any sense. I can picture in my head what I mean, but like, is indefinitely an option, or are we going to have to stop at some point?
I think with kind of the mindset I've got now, where I'm thinking it will, eventually things will get better, and maybe, I don't know. It's kind of, it forces you into kind of a contradictory stance, because when you put it like that, there does have to be kind of a consideration of a cancellation. If we're 5 years down the line and we played 6 games, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, but I think, we can't think like that right now. That is a situation that we bridge when we come to it. What we have to do is see, what can the Premier League do to get these games finished? Because there's a lot of options.
The likelihood is that give it a couple of months and we get around to the summertime, things pretty much, if we are to believe what we're being told, things should pretty much go back to normal, and then we'll finish the remaining 10 games over the course of 10 weeks or however long it takes, and we will then be back to normal, and that will be the end of the scenario. And whatever happens after that is obviously final, and we'll be looking at starting the 2020-21 football season in Christmas time or whatever it is. That's probably the way this scenario will go, unless things develop over the next few weeks and we keep getting pushed back, and obviously whatever happens, and there's nothing we can really do about it.
No, I think it's a situation that's completely out of everyone's hands, and the way it's panning out, in my opinion, is that it's going to end at a really weird situation where they just have to get games done as fast as possible, and that might sacrifice fan atmosphere. I think it'll be played on training pitches with cameras, and it'll be surreal.
I don't know whether it'll get that far, but I think I don't see the point in, if we're running out of time, that we squeeze in 1 game a week. I wouldn't be surprised if we go to Saturday, Tuesdays in the Premier League and we complete the 10 games over a course of 5 weeks, playing 2 games a week, rather than waiting 10 weeks and doing 1 game a week, and we just go to kind of Championship Saturday, Tuesday format and just get these games out of the way. Maybe the games won't all be played on the same day, that you just play the fixtures dotted around whenever the sides can. We don't know, do we? It's such a strange situation. Also, the fixture list. Now, if we come back on the end of April, I think Villa's first game after that was Everton on something like the 2nd of May, I think. Do we start from Everton and then play, I don't know who's after that, but there'll be 3 games left. So do we play Everton, somebody else, and then West Ham last day, which would have been Leicester in this big relegation 6-pointer, would that be the third game back and then the other games are rearranged back in first? Or do we pick up from Chelsea where we cancelled and then start again from there? Do we have any idea of what the scenario is with that?
No, it's a clear organisational nightmare because, like, you've got a situation where teams can benefit from this now. Say you had like 4 home games in a row, or most of the games you've missed in this period due to the coronavirus are home games, and you've got them all lined up at the end, whilst other teams have away games. Like, you could see a situation there where Aston Villa thrive at home. They have their easiest games are always going to be at home, no matter the opposition. So you might have a situation where you do your West Ham game, and you've got 3 or 4 home games lined up straight after that, one after another.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
but we were looking at that West Ham game going, oh, this will be the game where it all comes down to the final day, and whatever happens, if we need 3 points to stay up, that's where we get it, and happy days. That West Ham game now might be much earlier in our season, and then our more difficult games finish the season. Like, the whole kind of, because there's an advantage to be had in your fixture list, isn't there, that you're running compared to the rest of the teams at the bottom. Reflects who gets what points and where the league's looking as we go throughout the season. If the order of the fixtures gets changed as well and games get squeezed in left, right and centre, that will have an effect on the quality of the football as well and the fitness of the players and stuff. So there's a lot to be sorted out. Obviously, we're not involved in these decisions. We have to just kind of sit and wait, but there's so many knock-on effects to different things that we're all kind of left in limbo waiting to go, well, what happens now?
Yeah, I think you're looking at a situation now where you play a lot of games in a small period, but you have to remember that these teams, they've got a lot of money. They should have, you want to buy a bigger squad because of the situation where games get moved, games get changed. That happens anyway with FA Cup, Champions League ties, so games do get moved, and you do have a quick turnaround of fixtures. Watford had a FA Cup replay, then us really quickly, then a league game, and a league game before that as well. So that's only kind of a normal example of kind of this extreme situation that we've got going on. But that is kind of the least of my worries if players are complaining of unfitness. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know you're with me on that at all. I'm not saying that you're not, but it's like, if there's a situation where the Premier League went, right, we've got all the pitches in St George's Park, we're getting these games out, you're playing 2 a day, we're finishing the season in 5 days. God,
can you imagine?
Yeah. There would be no complaints from me, because it's like, this season needs to finish. Like, you have to finish the season.
But can you finish it? It's almost like the whole VAR debate is in some cup games and not in others. That has an impact. Can you withhold the league to the same standard if the first 28 games have been played, quote, properly, and the last 10 games are played behind closed doors or on AstroTurf or whatever it is? That surely affects the quality of the games, and you could argue that the performance levels will be different because it's not played in the same scenario. If everything was played behind closed doors, a club somewhere would get relegated and go, well, if we'd had our fans there, we wouldn't have gone down, and then that's a knock-on effect as well.
Well, yeah,
so surely you have to play it in the same variables as we had before.
But for example, Liverpool, a lot is made of the support and how ingrained it is into the club, and there is a difference. Liverpool at home, there is. Maybe it's not this whole world-beating feeling that's kind of advertised, but there is something different about it. And the way Villa have played at home this season, there is something different about how a team performs at home, especially in those 2 cases. Yeah. So you do have that, but you've also got the fact that these games, there's always going to be an asterisk after it anyway, because they're played before and after a pandemic that has kind of derailed the season. So I think maybe that's the bigger overhanging thing, is the fact that this pandemic has occurred. It's affected football. That's always going to play in after, no matter how it's played. I think that is the biggest overhanging kind of thing that underlines this.
There was a lot of talk on Twitter about Wesley and Tom Heaton coming back, and if the season doesn't kick off again until December. I mean, I don't know what the progress is currently, but you'd look at ACL injuries as being sort of 9 to 10 months or something. So it happened in January. If we come back in October, November, December, Tom Heaton and Wesley might be able to play again. But I've seen on Twitter this afternoon from Ty Bracey that we unregistered those players when they got injured to make room for January signings, I assume. And if unless there's some re-registration rules at some point further down the line and different contracts and all the rest of the ramifications of that, even if Wesley and Tom Heaton are fit again when football resumes, they're unregistered to play for Villa anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, but it'll be crazy in one mind, it'll be crazy for the Premier League to kind of not allow that, because I think a lot of teams may be affected. What if a player wanted to retire in the summer and they're still adamant about retiring? What if a player had because transfer deals are sorted out now, so there could be a situation where a Villa player has agreed, a pre-contracted agreement with a club in the summer to move on a certain date. That's set in stone.
Yeah.
They could move theoretically, because that transfer window is still going to start. Like the business, it'll be hard to kind of stop all of that. There's so much money involved in that. I'd be really surprised, because it's not just clubs making money. It's football associations, agents, players. There's a lot going on in that. So I feel the kind of economic weight of that would take precedence, because. But then, you know what? Halfway through that sentence, I'm thinking, I'm not thinking it's a silly thing, but I'm thinking there is so much going on that we don't know. There is not a clear answer to this. But I think the transfer window, they might still open one before the season resumes, though. Like that could be a serious possibility.
But again, that would have the same knock-on effects that players would play for a second club during the same season, which I know you can do if you move in January, but because the situation has changed so much that you could be looking at signing a player who was injured. Like, for example, John McGinn was injured in March, whereas when the season comes back round, when we start up again, obviously he'll be fully fit. But if there's a transfer window comes in before and someone comes and nicks him out of nowhere, surely that would affect the integrity of the games remaining as well, that you're not setting out with the same squad that you would have had if it wasn't for this virus pandemic in the first place. It's so complicated.
Mad.
There's so many different things. It is almost, I keep saying it's almost pointless for us to talk about it, but because this news has come out and we have to talk about it, you kind of just find yourself falling down the rabbit hole every time. I don't know where we're going to end up now, so we kind of have to be guessing. But then sitting here and guessing for 20 minutes every few days gets us nowhere either.
So I think what's a really interesting kind of paradox to think about is, say there's an Aston Villa player and they have agreed a move through their agent to a new club. Villa have kind of waived off the transfer fee. But we'll sort that out after the season ends. But that move is sealed. All that needs to be done is a little bit of paperwork. The player's got the house sorted. They're looking forward to the move. It's happening on the 1st of January, or the 1st of June, sorry. It's going ahead when, that window clocks in. Does that kind of just get removed? You know what I mean? Just there's so many little threads coming off this that are going to be stunted, because that happens. The deals happening in June are kind of getting sorted now, or were getting sorted before this. So there was just so much going on with, all the little bits of football that they don't really think about, the little contract details. Because, there's contracts that expire, like Keenan Davis's and Callum O'Hare's.
Yeah.
What? And Callum O'Hare's loan deal, does that just go out the window?
Oh, mate, it's so deep, isn't it? And it's also...
It's terrifying.
I'd hate to be a lawyer. I'd hate to be a lawyer at this time, because there's going to be so many different lawsuits coming left, right and centre if things don't resume in the way that they were before. You forget, the season being completed and teams can properly finish how they're supposed to. All the contract side of things and the staff and management and the normal people that work in football clubs as well. There's so much going on. It is mind-boggling, really.
It hurts to think about. It really does, because
really does.
as I've already done this podcast, when I'm saying something and I'm trying to kind of figure it out in my mind, I'm like, what? You get the kind of contradiction hit you already, and you're like, do I have to carry on with this?
You've started a point, so you have to finish.
Yeah,
it.
You have to finish it, but there's so much things coming off this now that are hitting my mind. It's horrible. Outside of the awfulness of the virus itself and its effects on regular life, it's all the admin that comes of this. It's all the effects. This is just football. I can't even think of the government level of this. It's just killing me, man.
This is why it's almost beneficial not to talk about football for a little bit, because when you actually sit down to think about it, it's just sad. It's depressing. It isn't nice to talk about it, because no one's got the answers. No one's got any solutions, and the more you kind of sit here, especially now that we can't record together and we can't have an actual conversation, I'm just sat staring at my blackout blind, just thinking, please all go away now. I don't want to think about this anymore. I
there's-
want everything to go back to how it was.
Yeah, I
I
think
feel like I'm in a nightmare.
there's a lot that's been taken for granted, and going to football, like they've took so many. If you think about this pandemic, they've took so much for granted. What if a virus passed around?
know.
What if it went around football clubs, like a serious bug went around football clubs and kind of just ruined, like didn't let them play for months at all, and it only affected them because it only got transmitted in those close environments, kind of in the changing rooms and stuff. I'm just seeing my dog in the corner of the screen now. It's like killing me because she's just looking around. It's completely
The
through.
dog on the podcast.
Yeah, there is a dog on the podcast. But no, you just think like football should have a contingency plan anyway, and it's at all levels of kind of society. It's really caught us out on these little things, and it's kind of horrifying.
It is sad, isn't it, when you stop to think about it? And like I said before, like football isn't the be all and end all, and there's a lot more important things at play than football matches. But football is a big part of people's lives as well. It's a big escape, isn't it? So to have that taken away, it's almost like, oh yeah, well, things are bad in the world, but football will always be there. Like things will always be okay. But even that now is at jeopardy as well. So yeah, it's a strange time. But the crux of the matter is the Premier League have had a meeting. They're saying it's coming back on April 30th. So the countdown begins to another kind of 6 weeks, is it? 6-7 weeks? I don't know what date it is, mate. I don't know what day it is even. Everything's just merged into one now. So they'll be like, that period between Christmas and New Year when no one knows what's going on. So I feel like a little bit like that now, but without the festivities.
I know what you mean. It's kind of like being stuck in and just not being able to kind of get into that routine and then being knocked out of your original routine. It's a weird situation. I'm not a big fan. I mean, even stuff like going to the gym or going to the supermarket without it being kind of a mad grab for little silly things. It's really disruptive and it's not a positive. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is good. It's a good time to kind of get an indoor exercise routine and all sorts." It's just nah, mate.
No room for that.
Nah. You can still go for a walk. That's what I don't get. People saying you got to you can still go for you can still walk the dog. You just can't be like sneezing at people. I still can't get over the fact that people weren't washing their hands before. That's genuinely like terrifying me. Imagine all the kind of like pathogens that we've been spreading. Well, not me.
Mate,
it's spread to me.
This virus hasn't happened 10 years ago. If this is how people have been living for the last however long.
Well, the way I figure it is like it's just been me and you just washing our hands, killing the virus the whole time.
I feel like we're all going to get a case of cabin fever at some point as well. Like speaking, obviously I've got family here as well, but speaking to you via the outside world is now my only outlet. So I feel like football is I don't care what we talk about on the podcast anymore. I just need some human interaction.
No, it's true. And I think, the podcasts in general serve a really important, and radio and TV, all sorts of what the BBC are kind of putting out. It serves a really important thing in this time. And that's just like base human interaction. Just hearing off other people, and I think I don't just speak for myself when I say like if you need a chat, like I am there, and other people are there. You should just reach out and just kind of waffle on, because this is just it's a crap time. Like it really is a crap time. It puts all those silly little arguments about football in perspective.
Do you remember the VAR decision at Crystal Palace? Feels irrelevant now. Don't care.
Genuinely ain't fussed, mate. Like just
that still makes me angry.
Yeah, I don't care, man. Like I was seeing stuff about Joleon Lescott's car tweet. I was thinking,
I saw that.
How was I asked about that?
Nah, that still annoys
me.
No,
at the time,
I still don't buy that. Nah, even now. I saw that clip and I was like, "Nah, I'm not having it. You can't tweet that from your pocket." I think
that is just pure. You got to respect the grift, like the pure committal to that story.
Oh, mate, you really have. You do have to applaud that. To be fair, the fact that he's sticking to his guns. What is that now? 4 years later, that's unbelievable.
You got to do it once you've said it. And
I know it's mad. Maybe I'll spend the next 10 weeks in quarantine trying to send a tweet from my phone.
I think every episode we should put our phones in our pockets with a picture of and see if it tweets. Because I believe that it could happen.
I'll guarantee that it won't.
I believe that it could happen. Like you go into Google Photos. Impossible. No, how is it impossible? Like
because I don't put my phone in my pocket open. And even if it was the fact, so it's got to get to. All right, let me open my phone. I've got my phone. We're getting close to the half an hour mark. Go to Twitter. So that's one. I've got to open it. Go to Twitter. That's two. Press the tweet button.
Nah, come off
Press
it.
the
Nah,
picture button.
this is lies. Okay, what's happened is he's had the photo.
What do you mean it's lies?
Because if you have the photo open, there's a share thing,
Yeah.
so it can
Yeah.
go quicker than that. It's not like the phone in his pocket is just going, "Oh, I'll open the Twitter app." You're thinking about it the wrong way. You got to think out. This is an
Right,
outside the box situation. You got to think outside the box, man.
Well, if I go to the Photos app, I've still got to press share Twitter.
Share Twitter, bang. There you go. It's done.
Save.
Come
no,
on.
I'll press notes.
I'm not having none of this.
Twitter. Hang on a minute. So that's 2. What's happening? Tweets. That's 3 button clicks to happen in your phone. I'm not having it. There is no way you could have a tweet sent from your pocket. There's just no way. I'm not having it.
Okay.
I'm not having it.
Have you never dialed someone in your pocket ever?
No, 'cause my phone's locked. So how would that happen?
Okay, my phone isn't locked. Like,
You put your phone away.
this is a new situation for me. Like, no, because when it's connected to like Bluetooth stuff, it's unlocked. Like, because it's on me.
You need an iPhone, mate. That's why.
This is just this. I mean, it's relevant. At least we ain't kind of like
Semi-relevant.
proper waffling. This is on topic. But
It's Villa related.
no, I'm not gonna. It's just it's funny.
Thing is, right, what you said before a couple of minutes ago, that podcast being kind of important is maybe the wrong word, because I feel no sense of importance in anyone's life here delivering this content to them. But in a time,
No, it's not like it's not a sense of self-importance. I think it's just like have half an hour off.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Listen
Exactly.
to-
It's almost like
Yeah.
we can't reply to people, or people can't reply to us, sorry. I mean, you can tweet us and stuff, but during an episode, whereas I kind of want to feel like our podcast and the stuff we produce is enough to kind of, like you say, fill half an hour, fill 45 minutes just to stick on and kind of zone out for a little bit. You know, there's a lot of depressing stuff on the news at the moment. If we can, I mean, to be fair, the first 25 minutes of this podcast was depressing as well, so maybe not this episode specifically.
The last 5 as well.
The last 5 has been...
Just throw the whole thing in.
The last 5 has been classic podcast material, so the last 5's perfectly on brand. But do you know what I mean? Like, we can be a little bit of a company for people, I guess, if they're stuck at home, there's not much to do, and you're kind of running out of Netflix shows to watch and football documentaries to watch on YouTube and all the rest of it. This can be a little bit of background noise, even like just tune in.
Yeah.
If we can help you kind of have a bit of a laugh along the way, then that's great for all of us. So we'll keep producing stuff. We want to hear people's feedback as well. If people think we're going off topic too much, let us know. We'll try and rein it in a bit. Probably won't be able to do it, but we'll try. If people think we're not talking about football enough, we'll try and get some more.
We did talk about football for about half an hour, mate.
Oh yeah, mate, this video and the one we did with the Liverpool Echo, I've almost hit an hour of football chat in the last 2 days. Like, that is unprecedented for us.
Like, this has been entirely football. Don't get it twisted, mate. We've talked about the delay, Joleon Lescott. This has been like bang on.
Yeah. There should be
but
no
I think on a final note, we should say, the sad news of Peter Whittingham's passing.
Yes.
It was reported, obviously, a few days ago. It kind of broke out, definitely premature. And so I think everyone kind of had it in mind, and his health, the status of his health was updated yesterday. But obviously, before we recorded, the sad news broke that he had passed away.
Yeah, very
in
sad.
hospital, Cardiff City. Yeah, Peter Whittingham before our time, Dan.
Just about. I remember him. I think he left in sort of 05-ish, I want to say, without having checked that.
Him being at Villa really isn't kind of the main story anyway.
No.
So what would have been our memories of him at Villa would be irrelevant. It's the fact that during my time of knowing him, he was one of kind of the most dominant players in the second tier for Cardiff. Left-footed wizard. What I'm seeing from kind of like Bristol fans, Leeds fans who've played him, is like, this guy on the team sheet, he's like a David Beckham type. Not having, set pieces, left foot, you're not having it.
Yeah, 35 as well. It's absolutely no age at all, is it? It's so tragic. I mean, not to kind of bring it back to myself, but to be 24, you're what, 27? Is that right?
Yeah, 26, mate.
26.
My birthday in 5 days.
Oh, okay, well, many happy returns in isolation. That'll be fun for you. Maybe we'll have to have a virtual party over Skype or something. But yeah, to be our age and to think that he's not even 10 years older than you is so sad. So yeah, our thoughts go out to his family and friends. I just want to read the statement that Cardiff posted, because I think that's the most poignant one that I've seen so far. It is with an immeasurable amount of sorrow that we must inform supporters that Peter Whittingham has passed away at the age of 35. We are heartbroken. The news of Peter's sudden and untimely passing has shaken us to our very foundation. Our love goes out to his wife Amanda, their young son and family. Oh, young son, jeez. They are at the forefront of our thoughts, and on their behalf we ask for their privacy to be respected at this unfathomably cruel and difficult time. First and foremost, Peter was a family man and somebody who could light up a room with his sense of humour, warmth and personality. Then, as a footballer, as a bluebird, he excelled with talent, ease, grace and humility. Nobody did it better. The loss of Peter will be painfully felt by our city, supporters, and indeed all who have ever had the pleasure of knowing him. We love you, Pete, and your memory will eternally stay with us. Which is
it's
very sad.
it's just the age that gets me. The way kind of you look at football is, if someone's 34, you're like, come on, you're past it now, give it up. And it's 34, it's just nothing, man. Like, it's still a baby. Like, I know I'm 27, but like 30 in the grand scheme of things, 34 is just 35. Sorry, it's just it's gutting. I mean, I think at least there's a legacy that's kind of left at Cardiff. The guy has built up so much, and he'll be remembered as a legend at that club.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is just such a tiny and rubbish consolation. But there is that the fact that people, this guy brought joy to so many people's lives through the medium of football. It's just a shame that the chapter's over now, and there's nothing more that we can really add from a Villa perspective, because me and you didn't see him. But from accounts, the guy was beloved, absolutely beloved. Villa players coming out, Lee Hendry, Ian Taylor, just saying how it's put their life into perspective, and it really does that. And it comes as a shock. And I think the big lesson we learn from that is, especially as just the average Joe, is we don't need to necessarily circulate reports we're not kind of aware of, because there are people at the end of that supply chain. There's a family who probably didn't want to getting out. So I think it was a mistake. It was an earnest mistake. But I think when we see stuff like that and we're not absolutely positive, we should probably just keep it in mind that there is a sense that it could not be true.
Yeah, I think as well, going back to the coronavirus thing, I think the whole thing has brought a little bit of perspective to most of the world now, that things that we've been kind of drummed into us that are so important for so long actually aren't as important as people say. Work things, school things, little things that you kind of stress and concerned about during everyday life actually aren't that important, really, and that there's bigger things at stake than there's just the mundaneness of everyday life. So it's a very very strange time to be living through at the moment, I think, and it's if we're not sort of professionals in any way, and we're not trained to sit here and be helping people, but like you said earlier, if there's people watching that are feeling a bit lonely at home, or they don't feel like they've got anyone to talk to, then like you said, my Twitter DMs are always open. Get involved in comment sections and stuff, and I think we did a video with Matt that went out earlier today or yesterday, and he kind of said he wants this to be a little bit like a community for Villa fans, to kind of all kind of flock together and all kind of stick together a little bit. So if anyone does want to have a bit of a chat, then we're definitely open to talk Villa, talk nonsense. We'll try and get fans involved in the podcast if we can, and try and just be there for each other while we go through uncertain times. Yeah,
absolutely. I think the comment section has always been a kind of scary place to go into, because I think, but true, people who have always been like guns out straight away. The review kind of left on the podcast the other day, you don't want to really bring attention to it, but let's make it a better place for everyone, because there's people at the end of that supply chain and people at the start of it, and you're at the start of it. So if you can just put anything there, you're under an anonymous name, you can put anything there and we can reach out to you, hopefully make you feel better.
So it's a strange little podcast, that. It's just just feel a bit sad now.
Well, no, I mean, life goes on, man. You have to be optimistic. I'm pretty sure we want to do something about Football Manager, because I've had a lot of messages personally saying, "How do I play this bloody game?"
Really?
Yeah, I've had about 5 or 6, man.
Amateurs, mate.
It's just like,
who doesn't know how to play Football Manager?
Mate, they ain't played it for 6 years, and it's a terrifying place. You got a scouting up now. You got a director of football. You got a medical centre. Like, they just can't hack it. So we need to help them out. We need to do a public service.
To be fair, I've not played this year's one yet, and I've seen obviously that they've made it free now for, is it a week? Free for a week?
Until next Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
get
on it now.
I've
you
wasted
can play
a day
it free
already.
for a week.
Yeah, you could get through a season in a week.
I genuinely cannot believe that. How did you see it for free and not snap that up instantly, man?
Mate, I'm so busy with work all the time. I can't envisage a time where I get to play Football Manager anymore.
Yeah, fully.
Although I've got 2 laptops at this desk now, with my work laptop and my personal one, so I'll have my work laptop to do the podcast, and I'll just have Football Manager on at the same. To be fair, Football Manager is a great scouting technique. Like, I should probably get on there for research purposes, if nothing else. So maybe I can claim it back on expenses. This has been quite good, actually. The format is, I think we've kind of stumbled on something decent here. That I wanted this to be like a 10-15 minute reaction to the Premier League's statement on what's going to happen next, and we've managed to get to a 40-minute podcast. So fair play, mate. Well, congratulations.
No,
you can come back.
Well done. Absolute king of waffle. Crown champion.
I mean, this is now work related, but you can get some articles written over those. So there's a bit of work for you.
Bright cove in my room, like in my bed.
It's funny that means nothing to the audience, but rest assured, we're working hard, everybody.
You signed up to this party, man. You're too late now to back out. You're fully in or you're fully out.
We should probably rebrand the podcast to include waffle in the title, the Claret Blue Waffle Podcast or something, so people know what they're in for.
Like, there was a lot of football, Dan. Like, don't do yourself down. There was a lot of football. If they can't act,
I can see the comments in the iTunes reviews now saying, this was boring. Why are you talking about this for?
If you're slacking me off in a pandemic, right? Firstly, think of me. I could be infected right now. And I could be really ill in a few days. I might be asymptomatic right now. So think of that. B, just be nice, man. You got that. If you're doing that in a pandemic, you ain't got any worries in the world, have you?
Mate, that's a good point. It is a great point. If you're concerned about the quality of our content during the world pandemic, just change your priorities. I'm going to go now.
Yeah.
Mess with some toilet roll, film a video, post a podcast, do some work, and then wait for all this to blow over. I'll catch up with you soon.
See you, man.
Nice one. Cheers, everyone.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, up the Villa.